Right then, this is absolutely mental. Paul Merson has just gone on Sky Sports and basically told Nick Woltemade to shut up and take a beating from Premier League defenders. Yeah, you heard that right. A former Arsenal player telling one of our lads to stop complaining when he's being wrestled to the ground like it's a cage fight, not football. Unbelievable, isn't it? I'm Rodrigo, and you're watching Newcastle Mania, the channel made by a fan for passionate Newcastle United supporters. You blinked, and Newcastle became headline news everywhere. And look, this story about Woltemade and what Merson said on telly has got everyone talking. It's not just about one match or one incident anymore. This is about how our striker is being treated week in, week out, and whether the refs are actually going to do their jobs properly. But first, just a quick word. If you love Newcastle and want to keep up with everything happening at our club, hit that subscribe button right now. It costs nothing, helps loads, and makes a massive difference to the growth of our black and white community. The incident that sparked everything. Let's start with what actually happened at the weekend, because if you didn't see it, you need to understand just how ridiculous this whole situation has become. Newcastle beat Fulham 2-1 at St. James Park. Brilliant result, but the story everyone's talking about isn't just the 3 points. It's what happened to Nick Woltemade throughout that entire match. Our 6'6" German striker was absolutely battered by Fulham's defenders. I'm not talking about proper, honest defending here. I'm talking about shirt-pulling, grappling, wrestling the lot. At one point, not one but two Fulham defenders, Issa Diop and Calvin Bassey, were literally hanging off him like he was a climbing frame. And what did referee Peter Banks do? Absolutely nothing. Not a single thing. He just let it happen, over and over again. The crowd at St. James Park saw it, they weren't having it, and when the halftime whistle went, Banks got absolutely booed off the pitch. And rightly so, because what we witnessed wasn't football, it was a wrestling match where only one side was getting penalized. Now, the current guidance to Premier League referees is supposedly to look for extreme actions, like dragging a player to the ground in a non-footballing way. Well, I don't know what Banks was watching, but that's exactly what was happening. But apparently, when it happens to Woltemade, it's just minor tugs that don't count. How does that make any sense? Paul Merson's absolutely baffling take. So after all this happens, after Newcastle fans spend the entire weekend fuming about how our striker is being treated, who decides to pipe up on Sky Sports News? None other than Paul Merson, former Arsenal midfielder and professional pundit. And what does he say? Brace yourself for this one, because it's properly absurd. Merson starts off okay, to be fair to him. He says defenders are going to try to ruffle Woltemade's feathers. Fair enough, that's football. He compares him to Peter Crouch, says he's a tidy player, good with his feet, likes to get involved in the game rather than just battling around. All positive stuff, and actually quite accurate. Woltemade is a good footballer. He's got vision, he's clever, he brings other players into play. But then Merson says something that's got everyone up in arms. He brings up the incident from the Arsenal match where Gabriel gave Woltemade what he calls a little rabbit punch. And apparently, Woltemade's crime was running to the referee, saying ref, ref, ref. And according to Merson, that's worrying. He reckons somebody else would have just said, I'll wait my turn. Wait, what? Let me get this straight. A player gets punched by an opponent, goes to the referee to complain about it, which is literally what you're supposed to do. And that's somehow a problem? That's worrying behavior? Are you having a laugh? Why this take is completely wrong. Let's break down why Merson's comments are not just wrong, but actually quite dangerous in terms of the message they send. First off, what exactly is Woltemade supposed to do? When a defender punches you, when two defenders are grabbing your shirt and pulling you down, when you're being fouled repeatedly without any protection from the officials, you're meant to just take it. You're meant to say, oh, I'll get my revenge later. That's not football, that's vigilante justice, and that's not how the game should work. The whole point of having referees is that players don't have to sort things out themselves. That's why we moved on from the days when football was basically a punch-up with a ball involved. We have officials specifically to protect players and enforce the rules. So when a player goes to the referee and says, hey, I'm being fouled here, can you do something about it? That's not being soft, that's not being weak, that's following the proper channels. And here's the really frustrating bit. Merson is essentially saying that because Woltemade complained to the referee, instead of taking matters into his own hands, he won't win with referees. Think about what that means. He's saying that the system rewards players who don't complain and just dish out their own justice. That's backwards. That's completely the wrong way around. What Woltemade actually said. Now let's look at what Woltemade himself said after that Gabriel incident, because this is important and it completely contradicts Merson's narrative. Woltemade said, and I quote, I'm not the type of player who will fall down for this. Read that again. He's not the type to go down easily. He's not the type to dive or exaggerate contact. He's actually saying he's tough enough to stay on his feet, even when he's being fouled. That's the complete opposite of what Merson is suggesting. Merson's painting him as some sort of soft player who can't handle the physical side of the game, but Woltemade is literally saying he refuses to go down easily even when he's being kicked about. This is a lad who stands 6'6", who's built like an absolute unit, who's come from German football, where it's not exactly a walk in the park, and he's showing he can handle the physical stuff. But he's also intelligent enough to know that when rules are being broken, you report it to the referee. That's not weakness, that's being smart. Eddie Howe's measured response. Before the Carabao Cup match against Tottenham, Eddie Howe was asked about whether he thought Woltemade had been fouled against Fulham. And unlike Merson, Howe actually gave a balanced, thoughtful answer. He said there were 1 or 2 incidents at the weekend that he thought were fouls that weren't given. He acknowledged that Nick felt the same way. But then, and this is where Howe shows his class as a manager, he said that Woltemade is going to have to deal with all sorts of different challenges from defenders, however they see best to defend against him. Some might go aggressive, some might be more withdrawn, and Nick needs to find solutions for how to play against that. Howe said they'll help him with that, and that it's all a learning experience because it's all new to Woltemade in the Premier League. That's proper management, that is. Howe's not making excuses, he's not crying about it, but he's also not telling his player to just shut up and take a kicking. He's acknowledging the problem exists, he's supporting his player, and he's working on solutions. That's what you want from a manager. The bigger picture. Here's what really matters in all of this. Nick Woltemade is 22 years old. He's in his first season in the Premier League, having come from Stuttgart in the summer. He's adapting to a new league, a new country, a new style of football. And he's doing it while being absolutely targeted by opposition defenders because they know he's a threat. Think about what it says about Woltemade that teams are doubling up on him, that they're so worried about what he can do that they're resorting to these tactics. Fulham had 2 defenders on him at times. That's a massive compliment to his ability. Teams don't do that unless they're genuinely concerned about what you can do to them. And yes, defenders are always going to try to put strikers off their game. That's football, that's part of the battle. But there's a line between honest, physical defending and just breaking the rules. Shirt pulling, wrestling, punching, that's not defending, that's cheating. And when referees don't punish it, they're basically giving defenders a green light to do whatever they want. What this means for Newcastle. Looking ahead, this is something that Eddie Howe and the coaching staff are going to have to help Woltemade work through. Because Merson's right about one thing, even if he said it in the most backwards way possible, teams are going to keep trying these tactics. Tottenham did it, other teams will follow. As long as referees allow it, defenders will keep doing it. So what's the answer? Well, Woltemade needs to keep doing what he's doing. He needs to stay on his feet, use his strength, use his intelligence, and yes, he should absolutely keep alerting referees when he's being fouled. Because if players stop complaining, if they just accept being fouled, then nothing will ever change. At the same time, Newcastle need to be loud about this. The club, the fans, the media team, everyone needs to keep highlighting when their players are being unfairly treated. Not in a whiny way, but in a factual, evidence-based way. Because the squeaky wheel gets the grease, and if Newcastle stay quiet, referees will just keep ignoring these fouls. The double standards. And here's something else worth pointing out. Imagine if this was happening to a striker at one of the so-called Big Six clubs. Imagine if Harry Kane was being wrestled to the ground twice a match without getting free kicks. Imagine if someone punched Erling Haaland and the ref did nothing. The media would be all over it. There would be apologies from a referee's body, there would be explanations, there would be promises to do better. But because it's happening to Newcastle, because it's happening to a young player who's just arrived in the league, suddenly it's, oh, he needs to toughen up, he needs to stop complaining, he needs to just deal with it. That's not fair, and everyone can see it's not fair. What Woltemade brings to Newcastle. Let's not lose sight of why this whole thing matters so much. Woltemade is a massive part of what Newcastle are trying to build. He's a different type of striker to what they've had in recent years. He's not just a target man who wins headers, he's genuinely good with the ball at his feet. He can link play, he's got vision, he can bring other attackers into the game. Eddie Howe clearly rates him highly, and you can see why. In a team that wants to play progressive, attacking football, having a striker who can do more than just stick in the net is invaluable. But he can't do any of that if he's spending the whole match fighting off 2 defenders who are being allowed to break the rules. Newcastle have invested in this lad, they've brought him in as a key part of their future, and they need referees to actually protect him so he can show what he's capable of. That's not asking for special treatment, that's just asking for the rules to be applied fairly. Final thoughts. So here we are. Paul Merson has gone on national television and essentially told a Newcastle player to stop complaining when he's being fouled. He suggested that going to the referee is somehow weak or problematic. And he's implied that Woltemade won't succeed unless he just accepts being kicked about and waits to get his own back. It's nonsense, all of it. Woltemade is doing exactly what he should be doing. He's playing with strength and intelligence. He's refusing to go down easily, but he's also standing up for himself when the rules are being broken. That's not weakness, that's having a backbone. The real problem isn't Woltemade, it's referees who aren't doing their jobs. It's officials who are allowing defenders to get away with fouls that they'd punish if they happen to players at other clubs. And it's pundits like Merson who are reinforcing this idea that certain players should just shut up and take whatever comes their way. Newcastle fans can see what's happening, Eddie Howe can see it, and frankly, anyone with eyes can see it. The question now is whether the referees will start doing their jobs properly, or whether this is just going to continue all season long. One thing's for certain though, Nick Woltemade isn't going anywhere. He's here, he's talented, and he's going to keep proving people wrong. And maybe, just maybe, Paul Merson and others will eventually realize that asking referees to do their jobs isn't a crime, it's just common sense. Right then, that's the full story on this absolute madness from Paul Merson. If you ask me, he's completely off the mark with this one, and I reckon most Newcastle fans would agree. Don't forget to subscribe to Newcastle Mania if you haven't already. We're here every day bringing you the latest news, the best analysis, and the honest opinions that you won't get anywhere else. Hit that bell icon so you never miss an update about our beloved Magpies. Drop a comment below and let me know what you think. Do you agree with Merson, or is he talking absolute rubbish? Should Woltemade just shut up and take it, or should refs start doing their jobs properly? I want to hear from you. Thanks for watching, and remember, we're Newcastle United, we don't back down, and we don't accept double standards. Ho away the lads!